Hi, this is Miss Cindy. I'm back again. I'm going to attempt to do another craft project, something I've never done before, but I think it's super cool. I'm going to try to paint these canvas sneakers. Now, I'm not an artist. I've seen a lot of tutorials. They say it's pretty easy, but I'm going to give it a try. I got these real cheap at Payless because they're going out of business. So I didn't pay, I paid next to nothing for them. So I don't mind messing them up if I do. All you need is some masking tape, painter's tape, some paintbrushes, some clear matte finish. That's just to coat it when you're done. And some white gesso. You will notice that I have two different tapes on these sneakers. The reason why is because it says use painter's tape, so that's the blue one. This was not easy getting around. It kept peeling off and it wasn't staying the way it should stay. So I did one sneaker with this, and then I tried doing it with the masking tape. The masking tape held a lot better, and I think it will keep the rubbers on the bottom from any paint getting on them. So I'm going to try them with both, and we'll see which ones comes out the best. Now, I am not an artist. So this is probably will end up with an abstract design just to see if I can actually coat the shoe and if it comes out pretty decent. I don't plan on anybody wearing them. I just want to see if I can do it. So I'm going to get started. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and gesso this. Gesso the whole shoe, tongues and all. I'm going to fill the shoes up with some plastic bags and some newspaper just so it's nice and firm so that when I gesso it, everything will go on smooth. Okay, so as you can see, I've got my shoes all stuffed with paper. I use plastic paper. You can use bubble wrap. You can use newspaper, whatever you want. And I'm just going to take my time and start gessoing it. When you put a gesso on any canvas, it fills in the pores so that when you use acrylic paints, it goes on it nice and evenly. I do a little bit of painting. Like I said, I'm not an artist. I do a little bit of painting. And I found that acrylic paints go on a lot smoother when it's primed. So I'm going to go ahead and prime these with some gesso. One thing I do want to mention is I've made this mistake. I'm using acrylic gesso for acrylic paints. I have made the mistake and used for acrylic paints an oil-based gesso. It worked, but it took forever to dry, and it also stunk up the house. So I'll be back once these dry after they've been gessoed. Okay, so I got one shoe gessoed, one shoe primed. You should be able to see the difference. This one here, the blue one, is a lot whiter than the tan one. It went on pretty good. We have to see what happens when it dries. So while I gesso the other shoe, then I'm going to probably sit down and draw and see if I can come up with a template or something that I can put on the shoe that's going to be fairly easy just to get the feel of painting on this type of canvas. Because I'm not an artist, I'm going to try to do an abstract, a little similar to the one that I've already done. I don't know if you can see all of it, but this is one that I did on actual canvas that I gessoed, and I used acrylic paint. This one is displayed in my living room. I'm going to try to do something similar to this on the sneakers. So I will be back after I prime that other shoe with gesso, let it dry, and then see if I can come up with some sort of design that I can put on the shoe that I'm going to do in pencil first. It also says for you to use a permanent marker. I suggest you use a permanent marker if you're an artist. If you're just getting started at this, you need to use a pencil. Okay, so it's been a couple of hours. My sneakers have dried. What I did was I went and got some cardstock, which is like a heavy paper. And I didn't know what design I was going to do. I wanted to make it kind of easy when I painted in because I don't have a steady hand for painting. And all I did was I drew some arrows, different size arrows. And what I did was I made these as my stencils. So I took my pencil, I had an eraser here, and I just took my time and just drew a couple of arrows on the sneakers. And I did it in a way where it looks like one arrow is going over to the other sneaker. Okay, so here's a picture of my little drawings on the sneakers. Nothing too fancy, something basic, so it'll be a little bit easy for me to paint in since it's the first time doing this. As you can see, I got a couple of pencil marks, a couple of things I measured incorrectly, but that's okay because we're going to paint over it. And then here's the back of the shoe. I put an arrow on the back of each sneaker. So now it's just taking the time and sitting down and paint. I can use any acrylic paint, not necessarily, it doesn't have to be anything special. I'm just going to use the acrylic paint because I have like hundreds of bottles of paint. So I will be back when I'm finished painting. Well, I've got two colors on. It seems to be going on nice and smooth. I'm not quite sure what colors I'm putting on here. I just want to get it painted. I think I'm going to stick with the blue family. But at least it's coming out pretty good. This is just the first coat. I may have to do 2 coats. Okay, the sneakers are almost finished. This is as much as I'm going to do as far as arrows. I also had the arrows in the back. This is still wet. So I'm going to let this dry, and then I think I'm going to tackle the tongue. I think I don't want the tongue to stay white. I want this to be a different color. So I'm going to tackle the tongue, and then I'm going to let it sit overnight, and then I will go ahead and fill in the white. Well, we're on day 2. I did all my painting. I let it dry, and then I went back this morning and did a little bit of touch-up. The next thing I need to do is I need to take my clear matte spray to seal in the paint so it doesn't crack. I'm trying to remember some of the issues I ran into is when I did the tongue. The tongue is really hard to paint, so I just put some tape on the insides and on the bottom of the shoe, and I painted it, and then this way when it laid down, if it got on paint, it didn't get on any of the inside of the shoe, it got on the tape, and then I pulled it off. The only issue that I have is that these can probably use a second coat to make it a little bit darker. But I didn't have the patience to do a second coat. This is the first time I'm doing it. If I'm going to do some sneakers that I'm going to wear, then I will probably do a second coat. But for the most part, it does work. It does come out. If you do the primer, it does come out evenly. It just really takes a steady hand and someone with some artistic ability to make the shoes really sharp. So hold on. So here's a picture of my Arrow sneakers. Like I said, they didn't come out too bad. I'm pretty pleased with the results. I know it can be done. If I can do it, you can do it. And this is a project that I will probably be doing again because it wasn't too hard. It just takes some patience. It takes some creativity to come up with a really good design. So now I'm going to go ahead and seal these. Let them dry, and then I'll show you the finished product. So I shook my UV resistant, the matte spray really good. And then I'm just going to go ahead and spray it nice and evenly. Try to get all of the shoe. Just back and forth. Okay. I also went and put my paper back in the shoe. And we're just going to let that dry. And then we're going to go ahead and do the other one. This does not have to go on heavy. It can go on light. And we're going to let it dry. Well, my Arrow shoes are completely finished. The sealant dried. I let it sit for about an hour. And then I went ahead and laced it up. There's the front. There's the back. There's the side. Came out pretty good for the first time. Well, thanks again for experiencing this first time craft with me. These are my Arrow acrylic canvas painted sneakers. This was a lot of fun. Next time I do this, I think I'm going to use 2 coats of paints. I found a lot of do's and don'ts when I first did this, but I think they came out pretty good for the first time. Have a great day.